Toastmasters and most devoted guests. The gender gap, or better known as who owns the cookies, is one of the first reasons of inequality in the world. And it has been like that for quite a long time. And today I'm going to tell you about the two waves of change that made that and what we're going to do to get out of the problem. Everything started before the Common Era. And we're talking about 35 centuries ago. And in the island of Samos in Greece, the first community in the Western world had the first religion. And a religion is a very big deal because it required people to get in agreement with their values and their beliefs, have rituals, and create buildings, rules, to follow the religion. This is the Neolithic, and it's very well researched, but very well hidden, and the reason is purely political. We know that is the absolute truth because we have been able to carbon date the artifacts and the paintings in the caves, as well as the temple called the Hyperion in the island of Samos in Greece. That happens 35 centuries ago. They venerated a god who was in charge of heaven and earth and who has the superpower of giving life. Gentlemen, ladies, the first god in the civilized world in the Neolithic was a female god. And her name is Hera. And the temple is the Hyperion. And she was venerated for around 700 years until the Indo-European culture brought Zeus. And with Zeus, the gender gap, the matriarchal society was relegated to be the patriarchal society. And Hera became the cranky wife. That happened 35 centuries ago. Well, more recently, when the patriarchal society happens, people had to be educated. And I said more recently, only 8 centuries before the Common Era, with Hamor and the stories. Homer created 2 poems. Number 1 was the Iliad, in which he presented the ideal evil wife. Her name, Helen, the young woman who ran with her lover and caused a war. That's an evil wife. In the second poem, the Odyssey, the evil wife was not present. It was the perfect wife, Penelope, the one who waited for her man many years after he had left, actually somebody else. But she was still in love with the knight. Well, these stories also help create unity in a culture with a lot of islands and isolated stories, legends, religions. Hesiod did a great job with the Theophany, which is the story, the book of the Pantheon, how the gods got the organization, how they took control of the universe and all the powers. And still, Zeus was on top. But the classic Greek people also brought the philosophers. Plato sustained that women were a degenerated form of a man. If a man was coward and reincarnated, that man will be a woman. And Aristotle didn't help either because he said that women were just men's tools or tamed animals. Well, that statements and those stories only caused a wound that bleeds for 28 centuries. Fast forward today. We are December 23rd, 2013. How do we know we're actually closing the gap? That would be ideal. Not to have guys in control, women. That would be fantastic to have equality. Well, the UN thought about that in 2006. But by 2009, we have a system, and it's called the Global Gender Gap Index. And it creates a report that is very well researched. And in every report, they rank countries. Now, by now, you might be wondering, where is the United States in this picture? You get to see the report. I made some copies of the important points for you. United States ranked 23 from 133 countries. It's kind of disappointing because I look around, I don't see the segregation, or there is even a law that prohibits discrimination based on gender. But let's see in detail what happened with the data. There are 4 areas being studied. And one is education. And the United States made a 1. We are ranking 1. There is no gap in education. In the economy part, our participation in economy, not so bad. We did number 6. In health and survival, we ranked 23. But in political empowerment, how much we believe in women to be in control? We're 60. And it's embarrassing when you get to see the numbers about us, countries like Nicaragua or communist countries like Cuba and China. But I said I have a lot of hope because this year was a fantastic year for the global gender gap. A little girl in 2009, Malala, she did the most courageous thing. She talked about the gender gap where never had been even a possibility. She believes in education, and she was only 11 when she wrote a blog for BBC saying, "It is horrible. Women cannot go to school in this country." It was such a fascinating fact that the New York Times wrote and did a documentary on her life and put her life in danger. Today, the news, in BBC News, we get to see even Japan is willing to close the gap. It was today in the news. And I'm so optimistic, I'm sure. In 10 years, I'm going to be sitting down here or standing up, and I'll be willing to repeat this speech by telling you the gap is closed.